That was amazing, bro. Because that I honestly didn't even see.
Rob, go ahead. I saw your hand up first, and then Aquaman, you're next, bro.
Hey man, I just want to say these breakdowns you do like this are so damn helpful. Definitely makes me view things a lot differently. So I appreciate that. And
Alrighty, so I want to break down in detail for you all my biggest day in trading so far this year in 2026. I made roughly around $42,000 today, almost at scalper's level, right? He made 48 grand today. And we also had a member, Justin, pass another funded challenge. So that was really great to see. He's one of the CYPRX OGs. So now he's running multiple funded challenges. I apologize in advance again if my internet cuts out. Mind you, it's still cloudy and rainy here. So I keep getting this notification that my internet's crap right now. So just be mindful of that. But I want to break this down for you guys in detail, why I was selling, why I flipped my sell bias to a quick buy bias and took these buy scalps. I took profit on this trade after having left a little tiny runner. And it got taken out. The runner got taken out, but nonetheless, a really great trading day for myself. And it looks like a lot of you guys in the chat as well. Al even said here he had great clarity today. What I want to point your attention back towards is yesterday's breakdown in the Golden Dawn section, because how I broke down price action for you guys, if you guys didn't see this lesson, I suggest that you go back and you watch it. Emiliano had a question yesterday about what he did wrong with his sell bias, and yesterday's price action was bullish, and so I did my due diligence to try to break that down for you guys as clear as possible. And so yesterday's lesson is going to play a very key role in the same approach that I took to catch today's trades. So, prerequisite from today's breakdown, if you guys did not watch this, just make sure that you guys go back, you read the entire conversation. It was a very interactive and great breakdown, in my personal opinion. So, for those of you all who did participate in the breakdown yesterday, you guys are going to be very headstrong on answering some of the questions that I have to ask you all today during today's breakdown. But so, starting from the top down, of course, as always, I'm a fundamental analyst. I play fundamentals as a big role in my directional bias for the day. So if you go into the chat, as always, I just try to let you guys know, what's happening in the market in terms of the data that comes out. We had labor market data today that did not really help support the case for immediate Fed rate cuts. And then obviously, of course, we have this ongoing uncertainty in regards to tariffs, geopolitical tensions, hotspots all over the world, Iran, Russia, Ukraine. So there's just a bunch of market uncertainty, which we know tends to weigh on risk assets. So all of these relief rallies that we've seen, um, you know, uh, when the landscape doesn't support risk on, we can't just continue to buy into these relief rallies, and we have to see them as it's most likely going to result in continued sell pressure, sellers gaining the upper hand over the buyers that are making attempts to push price higher with no real fundamental drivers in order to do so. So, just off the fundamentals alone, to me, the market sentiment today was a sell bias, right? At least intraday for now. And that coupled and went hand in hand with what I was seeing on the higher time frame. So first, this is the daily. We're going to work our way down to the 4 hour, then to the hourly, 15 minute, and then the 1 minute. And I'm just going to break down for you guys in detail and ask you all, excuse me, hopefully interactive questions that you all can answer, just like we did yesterday in the Golden Dawn section when I went over this breakdown for you guys. All right. So starting with the daily time frame, doing my top-down analysis, what is something that you all think that I noticed today on the daily time frame? Just taking a look at price action. Exclude yourself from paying attention to these daily highs. Just in general, it's just one thing. I don't spend too much time on the daily chart. I just simply looked at one thing today, and what do you all think that was?
How the EMAs were separated?
Yeah, great job, right? We have price action trading below the EMAs on the daily time frame. So that went into my sell bias today. I was like, okay, well, we have risk off fundamentals. Even though we have seen some bullish price action from these lows down here, overall, the sellers passively that are sitting at these highs have been defending multiple times, keeping price action suppressed beneath the triple EMA. So that was one thing that I noticed. Great job, Emiliano, right? Jumping down now to the 4 hour time frame, and I want to take your attention back to the New York session open, or prior to the New York session open, just taking a look at all the price action that we had, because I don't want you guys to think that this is just some hindsight breakdown. I want to really truly show you all how to analyze the markets, or at least how I do. Can't tell you all what to do, but show you all how I analyze the markets prior to the New York session open. So this is all the price action on the 4 hour now that we had prior to the New York session open. All right. So Emiliano already said on the daily, what did we see? Price action below the triple moving average. And I also went over for you guys on terms of fundamentals, what I was seeing that could possibly weigh on market sentiment and feed into my sell buy. So now we're on the 4 hour time frame. What was I paying attention to? This is now where I started to mark off the daily session highs, but then also paying attention to previous price action during sessions that existed before the New York session today, and marking off those areas that aligned with dark pools. So here you can see a dark pool at the 24905. And then also you can see this green box that I have on. This is not a delta. I was actually simply just highlighting the triple moving average down here. All right, so you guys can see we had a triple moving average crossover, and I highlighted and engulfed all these triple moving averages because they aligned with not only the bottom of this bullish 4 hour candle, but they also align with the institutional dark pool. And then here as well, if we were to drop down to the lower time frames, you can assume that this top of the candlestick here was a previous resistance. Then you can see in this 4 hour candlestick, we see a break above the triple EMA, and then the previous resistance or previous dark pool then turns into support in this bullish candlestick, and we see a nice bullish run. So I was highlighting the bottom of this candlestick, highlighting and engulfing all of these triple EMAs, and highlighting the 24905 institutional dark pool as an area of interest to say to myself, well, on the daily, collectively speaking, we're trading below the triple moving average. We know that sellers have recently taken sell positions and defended from where they were previously selling from aggressively over here, with enough momentum to break a previous bullish structure. And so if they're going to buy today, they're most likely going to buy from a discount. So this was my first area of interest today, where if New York session was going to buy, they were going to buy from likely a previous session where they bought from before, which is at the bottom of this bullish candlestick. Okay. So I'm just explaining to you guys why I was highlighting this area and doing my pre-market analysis. Then coming up here, we know that the daily high, the daily candlestick starts right here at the very beginning of Asia session. And so here today was the daily high at roughly around the 25244, or give or take roughly around the top of that area. Okay, so I marked that off as well. So this was the range that I was playing in today. And I was simply saying to myself, if we come to the top of this range, if we don't break the daily high, I'm going to be looking for sells. Vice versa, if we come down into this triple moving average on the 4 hour and we don't break below this previous bullish candlestick that broke previous resistance, held above an institutional dark pool, and we had a triple moving average crossover, then I'm going to be looking for buys. So I'm just trying to give you guys my overall analysis top down, starting from the daily, now down to the 4 hour. All right. Let's go down to the hourly. Okay. Hourly price action. Same thing. We noticed that we have price action still trading above the triple moving average. Prior to, this is now where we're going to get into the detail. So remember yesterday's session, during these buys for New York, what price action were we analyzing? We were analyzing all of this price action in that breakdown that I gave you guys. Here and here. And what were we paying attention to? Can somebody tell me in these legs? What were the three things that we were paying attention to? Can somebody tell me that was in the lesson yesterday?
Was it how price action was trading below the triple EMA and acting as resistance?
No, remember more specifically, Eric, the three things that I was trying to teach you guys that I was paying attention to, it's in this screenshot right here. The three things, right? This, and this. Just want you guys to say it so it sticks with you.
The manipulation of the load.
Yeah, great job, right? Okay, so starting off with what you just said, DeFi Crusader. Looking at previous price action, we had a low manipulated. We then see a resistance broken that creates a new bullish leg. And then we see previous resistance act as a support. So with that being said, we saw 1, 2, 3 patterns play out multiple times yesterday prior to the New York session open, which was here. Here again, we see another 1 or a low manipulated that leads to a break in resistance that leads to a retest or a 1, 2, 3 pattern. You can see this is bullish intent, right? And so same thing today. I want you guys to pay attention to how I was able to catch these sells by literally analyzing the markets the same exact way. So now we're going to jump down to the 15-minute time frame. And I just want to ask you guys what you all see prior to the New York session open. So let's go into the start of the New York session. Just play some of these candles out a little bit. Okay, boom. So this is the we went a little bit too far. Okay, so boom. There's right before the New York session open. Okay, so this is all the price action before the New York session open we had to analyze, along with everything that I've showed you all so far. Okay, mind you, again, this right here was my buy area of interest coupled with the institutional dark pool down here. And overall, mind you, on the higher time frame, we're still trading below the triple moving average. Okay, so what do we see previous sessions do? I'm going to turn my session indicators on. What do we see previous sessions do prior to the New York session open, knowing that New York session, if they're going to buy, is likely going to buy from a discount where they previously bought from, and price had not touched that area yet? Okay, what do we see in terms of all of this price action? Can somebody tell me? Remember what I just showed you guys in this screenshot. Okay, this is your answer to give you guys a hint. What do we see?
Lows that act
They
as
are
resistance.
manipulating.
Think,
Are they bringing
I'll give
price
you,
down into a discount?
I'll give you another hint. Okay, think as above, so below, right?
Daily low.
Nobody said it yet.
The daily high is being manipulated.
Okay, we'll start with that, Kelvin. We'll start with that. So check this out. What did Asia session do? Always ask yourself these questions. What did Asia session do? What did London session do? What was the effort versus the result? What can we see during Asia session? That's right here, right? We see effort by buyers prior to the Asia session. Asia session starts, and then we see the result ends in sell volume engulfing all of the buyer's effort. So we can look at this as
Trap buyers, right?
exactly right. A manipulated high. So look at this. It's the same pattern as yesterday, but as above, so below. So here's a high that gets manipulated. The
Maybe they're really
buyers,
sellers.
the
Okay.
buyers that made an attempt to push price higher failed. They got trapped at highs. And then we see a break of a market structure to the downside, right? So this, to me, is the start of a 1, 2, 3 pattern. As above, so below, we can see, sure enough, this is the same exact pattern yesterday that we saw play out in the form of buys. So here's your 1 right here. Here's your break and shift in market structure. Then that leaves the door open for a pullback or a retest of the base, which is here. And so sure enough, highlighting that base and dragging it over to the right-hand side, now we see price come over into London session. So I'm going to flip the charts back right side up. And what do we see? We see the same exact pattern. London session, same thing. Think in terms of effort versus result. At the beginning of London session, what do we see? We see effort by buyers in this area. But the effort by buyers fails to break above a previous high. And instead, the effort by buyers gets engulfed by sellers. So this is yet again another 1, 2, 3 pattern. Here's your 1. Here's your break in market structure. Right before the New York session opens, this low gets taken out. So now here's your new 1. Here's your new 2. Right? Same thing prior to Asia session. Here was your 1. Here was your 2. And then London session made the 3 to continue this overall bearish schematic. Right? But now New York session, if they're going to sell, needs to sell. Okay, so look at where price action was right before the New York session open compared to where Asia session and London session sold from. We know New York session's not stupid. If 2 previous sessions sold, Asia and London, and New York session is going to sell and we see bearish price action, what's most likely going to happen? They're going to push. Yeah, great job, Emiliano. You were about to say it. They're going to push price up into the highs. Then they're going to take their sell position, push price into the lows, i.e. the buyers, and then they're going to seek to buy if they do buy, right? If the trend is bullish from previous sessions, then they're going to buy from lows, right? So that today is how I was able to catch this trade. So watch what I did. Again, now paying attention to the new 1, 2, 3 pattern. Let's get rid of all this. Okay, so just to finish marking this off so you guys can see it, here's your 1 during Asia. Here's the break in market structure during Asia that takes out all the bullish order flow. And then London session created the 3 for this move, which now becomes your new 1. Then again, we have a high. We then see a break in market structure. So the London session low gets taken out right when the New York session opens. And so all I was simply doing today to catch the sell was I was highlighting this sell base from London, i.e. the London session high, and engulfing it up into the daily high and saying to myself, this is now my area where if I'm going to take sells, this is where I want it to happen at, right? I'm not trying to chase the market and take sells from down here, right? That throws off my risk to reward, right? So I want to wait patiently to see how sellers react to this area once price comes up into it. Because think about it, calming your nerves, if the move for the day is not sells, what's going to happen when price comes up into this area? Buyers are going to be able to push through it, and then we're going to see a previous resistance turn into support, and then that's going to give us buying opportunities, right? So that's how I was able to stay patient today, not chasing the market and just seeing how price action reacts. So right when New York session opens, there's the open right here, and look at the price action. We see a little tiny wick beneath the London session low, and we see a bullish reaction. So imagine all of the traders today. Now, granted, there was great, phenomenal buying opportunities if you took the impulsive buy from this low. Pat on the back, you took the buy from the low, great job. But as soon as price came up into this area, if you were trying to be greedy, thinking that the market was going to go higher, you weren't paying attention closely to what Asia and London session were telling you. And Asia and London session were telling you is that buyers made efforts to break and push price higher, but they failed miserably. Same thing, London session, buyers made an attempt to push price higher, but they failed, and price made a new low. So you have to trade in tandem with this order flow until something shifts, until that shift is previous resistance becomes support, right? So that was my bias today going into today's session. That's how I was able to catch this 1 to 24. So as soon as price came up into this area, remind you, I stayed on the 15-minute all the way up until execution. Then when price came up into this area, so boom, as soon as this area was tested, I dropped down into the seconds chart. On TradingView, we can only go down to the 1-minute chart. Let's go back a little bit. Okay. So as soon as price on the seconds chart came up into this area of interest, we have this bullish candlestick. And as soon as this bullish candlestick printed, this is where I started to place sell stops So I placed a sell stop halfway through this bullish candlestick. This next bearish candlestick executed my order. I simply took my stop loss nice and tight above the high. I was willing to take multiple trades in this area until the sells either played out or until buyers pushed through this area and showed me that they were still in control, right? But overall, remember, I'm trying to go off of the overall momentum. And we know every single time since Asia session, now you guys can see it a little bit better on the charts. Every single time since Asia session that buyers have made an attempt to break above this area, they failed and sellers engulfed them. Same thing. London session. Buyers tried to make an attempt to break higher. They failed. Sellers engulfed them. So I was thinking the same thing. Buyers make an attempt. If I don't see a bullish, smooth push through this area, taking seller stop losses and resulting in a sell squeeze, then what's likely going to happen? The effort versus the result, right? So I was trading in tandem with that order flow. Sure enough, my order was executed there. And then for the sells, that was all she wrote, right? Literally went straight into profit. Now here was your new 1, 2, 3 pattern. This is what gave me the confirmation that I was in the right position. Here we can see a previous support on the 1 minute time frame. This was the last support or the last down move before the bullish push. So here's your effort. In this effort, we see a support or a low. Now here we can see that low gets violated with this bearish move. So now, same thing that we see on the higher time frame, which I just showed you guys. Bullish effort versus bearish result. Bullish effort versus bearish result. Now we're seeing it on the lower time frame, and that gave me the confidence to hold this position. So same thing, we see bullish effort, bearish result, breaks previous support. Here was your retest, and here was your new low. So here is your 1, 2, 3 pattern on the lower time frame now. Here's your 1, here's your 2 or your breakup structure, and this was your 3. If you didn't get in on the aggressive entry here, this was the second entry here. All right. That was all she wrote for the sells. That was pretty much the last opportunity for a pullback entry unless you were taking breakout trades beneath supports, which kind of skew your risk to reward off. Nonetheless, okay, so now how did I reverse my bias? And why did I reverse my bias and take this little tiny buy scalp? What do you notice about what I was marking off on the higher time frame?
Asia buys.
Yeah, great job, right? So we see price come straight down into my area of interest, right? Literally tapped the area that I'd marked off where the triple EMA on the 4-hour held price as support before, okay? So now, same thing that I like to do when a previous resistance turns into support, that tells me that buyers are making some form of an attempt at absorbing sellers. And so here you can see I have that marked off. When price comes down into my areas of interest, I'm marking off the previous resistances. I try to teach you guys this all the time. So we can see a resistance here. We can see more resistance here. You're looking at this in the form of the bullish candlestick. So the next resistance doesn't come in until all the way up here. So these were the 3 areas of resistance that I had marked off, paying attention to, that I wanted to see turned into support before I look for buys. And so sure enough, watch me play price action out. So now flipping my mindset from sells, I'm like, okay, cool. Sells were great. 1 to 24, 6 grand times 5 accounts, not be greedy. Let me pull the account. Let me pull the profit and then switch my bias now that we're in a buying territory. Okay. And the higher time frame on the 4-hour, I just showed you guys, collectively speaking, is still supporting this area of price. So this last resistance here, or this last bearish candlestick, you can see right here, we break above this bearish candlestick with this bullish candle, and then this bearish candle next. Look at the wick. You can see a previous resistance was broken, and then it turned into support. Now, I know that you can't see on TradingView the seconds chart, but on the seconds chart, this is resistance, resistance broken, turned into support. This is the same price action that we look for And so simply all I did to catch this move was I started to facilitate buy stops in this bearish candlestick, saying to myself, well, that if buyers were able to turn this into a support, where's their next target going to be? Their next target is likely going to be a previous high. So when this bullish move happened, my trade was executed, and my overall target for this bullish move was to revisit the previous resistance. That did not happen. But nonetheless, I executed this trade because a previous resistance turned support. So we'll continue to play this out. You can see now for the second time, this is your second confirmation. We see another bearish candlestick. Think about it in terms of without the volume, think about the candlesticks in terms of volume themselves. If this sell volume was enough to continue to push price lower, it would have engulfed the previous bullish candlestick and it would have created a new leg lower. It did not. And we see, again, a previous resistance act as a support, not once, but twice. And then we see an engulfing candle, all right? That to me was a green light to look for a breakout entry. So I entered into this position pretty aggressively. And I simply just took profit on this trade once we came back into the triple moving average and we saw a failure to break above the triple moving average a couple of different times. So you can see the price action started to consolidate a little bit. This is where I took the trade off. I was saying to myself, okay, we're not really breaking aggressively above the triple moving average. That's a sign to me that sellers are still in control of this price action. As I've told you guys before, that if we cannot see a smooth reversal above the triple EMA, that the people that pushed price, i.e. the sellers in this case, that pushed price below the EMA here are likely still in control. So that's why I closed this trade. It worked pretty well in my favor as price came all the way back down to where I'd originally entered anyways. All right. Showing me that, again, sellers were still in control. That leads us to where we're currently at now. Price action is pretty much just consolidating. Buyers are still defending this area. You can see we have another net bullish reaction from this area. So the question now is for the rest of the session and heading into tomorrow, can we see sellers engulf this area? If we can, remember, this is a 4-hour support right here. So if we break this area tomorrow and we turn this 4-hour support into a resistance, then we're likely going to see a much deeper pullback on MNQ or a drop down into previous supports. Here or here, so on and so forth. So anyways, that is how I caught this trade today from top down, right? Just paying attention to the same breakdown that I gave you guys yesterday. What did the sessions before tell us about price action? Who was in control? And clear as day, the effort today by buyers constantly kept getting engulfed by sellers. And they gave us those hints prior to the New York session open, right? So I hope that that breakdown helped you guys out. If you go back and you read yesterday's lesson, if we were to flip price action as above, so below, and we were to give the whole entire lesson from yesterday, today in the form of buys, it would be the same exact lesson. Literally the same exact lesson. Prior to the New York session, we see lows manipulated. Sellers, here's the effort by sellers, engulfed by buyers. Here's your now new bullish leg. You can see London session came back down to test that bullish leg. And we made another 1, 2, 3 pattern. Sellers made an attempt. They failed. Buyers engulfed them. Now during New York session, here's your new bullish leg and your new base. Today, sellers made an attempt to engulf them. They failed. Buyers defended this area and pushed price higher, right? But this today was in the form of sells. It's literally the same thing as above, so below. That's why in the CYPRX 2.0, I try to teach you guys that as above, so below, it's the same thing to the upside as it is to the downside. It's a little bit harder sometimes to see it in the form of sells. I definitely know as a trader, it was harder for me to see this pattern in the form of sells. But once I really started paying attention and rereading the information in the Delta education section about the sell Delta held pattern, it allowed me to see sells a lot clearer, right? So that's how I was able to catch these moves today. If there's any questions, I'll leave the floor open, but I hope that that top-down analysis helped you guys out, kind of see what I was seeing from start to finish, fundamentals, daily, 4-hour, hourly, 15, and now the 1 minute. All right. So I'll leave the floor open if you guys have anything. If not, then that'll be our last Zoom call for this week. We'll do a quick breakdown and overview of the fundamentals real fast and take a look real quick at what to expect next week before we head off. Anybody got any questions?